Okay.
Hey everyone, my name is Amrita,
I'm Dinara.
And I'm Amber.
and today we're spilling the tea on.
Racial
Racial.
stereotypes.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like
We need to
super
like
hard.
as well because we're so awkward doing it.
Yes. That was okay. That was okay. That was.
That's okay. So today we're spilling the tea on racial representation and stereotypes in social media.
Mm.
Okay, so maybe we can start with some questions. So, did you guys feel represented growing up in social media?
Well, do you mean
Don't be
racially?
shy, guys. Everyone's
Like
like,
I'm mostly white, so I'm like kind of, I'd say, but like it depends on like what aspects to it. But I'd say not that much because the main woman that you would see in the media is like the white blonde woman, and I didn't feel very present in this kind of media, you know?
Mm. Yeah. But in my case, um, being Asian, having small eyes,
Yeah, that's the main thing.
um, I felt the representation in the media in the case of the Asian people was quite controversial, I would say, because we are not represented as beautiful. We are not represented as desirable as many people can assume. Asian people are always nerds. They are always good at science and mathematics. Like in high school, musicals where we like used to watch on Disney channels and that sort of stuff. There was always a one Asian kid who
mhm.
was really good at studies, who was really good at mathematics, as I mentioned before. And that representation, I just felt sometimes people would say, my foreign friends would say, "Oh my God, you're Asian, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So you must be good at math. And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" I'm not. And I just had always the burden of trying to catch up with the stereotypes. For example, I'm Asian, so I should be good at studying, but it's not always the case. So yeah, I just felt the burden of um, that I should be what other people are expecting from me. So I should kind of catch up with those stereotypes, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, it's super crazy how growing up, like, there was such a wide dominance in like social media, like when there was already social media, but just like in publicities and stuff,
Mm.
where it was so sad. Like now, if when I think about it, it's super sad to like nowadays people of color are also represented, which is super good. But when I was little, I definitely not did not feel represented at all. I always felt like I was like the weird one,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
especially because also I'm like in between two different cultures, like that are totally different. So I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. And especially if and on top of that, you're not even represented in the media, or you don't even know that there are so many other people and kids who feel like that as well.
Yeah.
That's like that has a really big effect on a child, and like a
Mm-hmm.
teenager. And so if I have like a lot of friends with migration roots, like we're in Belgium, from Belgium, and when we talk about this kind of stuff, it's so crazy how you feel so understood because everyone had the same struggles, and everyone, I feel like a lot of people around me strived to be white, like in the beginning, because it was like the only thing you knew. Like you just wanted to fit in and you just want to be like, Belgian and be a part of a community
Yeah.
that we didn't really have. But
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
it's really nice to like now see how everyone like found their place and is like thriving and shining like in their own, like whatever percentage of melanin they have in their skin, or like
Yeah.
what their background is, doesn't really matter. But it's a crazy evolution to
Yeah.
see, and to to think about.
Yeah, as you said before, like seeing those all the white people representation was really affecting my self-esteem too, like my confidence in my like visual identity, I guess. When I was looking in the mirror, I was just seeing an Asian girl, but when I was looking at watching TV series, movies, I would always see these pretty white girls, and I would always compare myself to them, and I would always feel like I'm not enough. I would always feel like, oh, they're so pretty. Why am I built like this?
Are you built like that, princess?
It's kind of like it's really hard for me to tell everybody why I'm built like that.
Yeah.
Why don't
I also
have?
Yeah. I also often felt like when I was younger, I really felt, like no one's gonna want you because you're not this white girl, and it's so depressing. Like, how many white guys when I was younger would just try out like a girl of color to say like, oh yeah, or just like go out on a date to be like, I'm multicultural, but then in the end just drop you for a white girl. And that's like super depressing and really traumatizing. Like I even have friends that are still like, when they're dating white guys or like white people in general, they're always a bit like suspicious in the beginning because they're like, I don't know like what your political look on the world is and how you really see those kind of things. But yeah, it's so crazy to think about it. Like I also I when I was younger, I also have had this really big identity crisis because of it,
Yeah.
like also because of my background, but especially because like I don't know.
Yeah, and I have been reading some articles where some people really do not know the huge immense impact of the media and how it can influence people. They're just some people be like, even in Uzbekistan, they're like, oh, it's just representation, it's just TV, it's just a film, it's just a movie. What do you mean you feel misrepresented? What do you mean it affects your self-esteem? It's just nothing. But when you look into psychology, subconscious and conscious effects of the television and in the mass media industry in general, we can really understand how being represented can affect your self-esteem and in general your identity as a human being.
I feel like what's the worst is that not even minorities are not represented, but more like they're stereotyped, like they're cliche. The Asian woman in films, it's like she's always dressed in a Chinese traditional outfit. She always has like chopsticks in her hair, she knows martial arts. And it's the same for like the typical black woman who's like, she has attitude and everything, when all black women are not like this at all. And every time the main character, she's white and she's perfect, she's pure. And I feel like that's even more harmful than not having any representation.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is.
people have to be like this because it's their race.
Exactly.
I feel like that was the worst. Because then people have this image of you because they saw it in a film and they think you'll be like this.
Yeah, as you said, like black women are represented as loud. Like they are loud, they're not educated. They're what was the word? They are high maintenance, meaning they need if they want a man, it means the man should be like successful. They need money, and they're there for the man for their money. They need nails. They are really superficial, but in majority of the cases, the black women that I have met and that I have communicated with are not like this. They're really smart. They're really intelligent. Yeah, they know their worth. So yeah, media.
Yeah, it's crazy how when you look at the evolution of the representation also within series and movies, how there for example, like Amber said, like there's like one like Latina, then like one black person and like one Asian person, or like one South Asian person.
Yeah. And it's always like the best friend who's
Yeah,
like comedic relief, and she's not doing anything, just here to be like black or Latina or Asian.
yeah. And so for example, and do you know the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah.
Like for example, when I was in theater school and I was acting, and I would also do like auditions and stuff, which it was crazy, but sometimes like the amount of auditions for people of color and it being like a role, like a typical stereotypical role, like for example a prostitute, like you have to play a prostitute in a movie and you have to be like a people like person of color, you know, like this exotic woman, and it's like, why do you link this like to people of color? And so so that's why like I also saw a lot of shows and like a lot of interviews with actors that would be like um especially Latina actors, and that would really just grow up acting and with the thought of, if there's already Latina accepted in a series, like you're not gonna get the role because there's only place for one Latina, you know. And for example, in the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you have two Latina women playing in there. And in an interview, one of them told the guy who was asking questions that she didn't think she was getting the role because there was already a Latina in the series. So like her manager already told her like, you're probably not going to get it because there's already Latina, and which is super harsh to hear because like it's your job and you have to like really fight hard for one place while the rest of the cast is like predominantly white, you know. And in the end she got it, you know. And there's like, so she's obviously because when they casted Brooklyn Nine-Nine, they really looked at the actual acting skills, you know. They didn't look at the background, how they look or whatever, so they just casted everyone that they were like, this is going to be a good team for the show.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. And like, have you seen, guys, the TV series called Never Have I Ever? That was the Indian representation
Oh yeah.
ago.
Ah,
That, yeah.
yeah.
It was
And
really
in
good.
the second season, there was another Indian girl added to the cast. She was also kind of the main character. So the main character girl was Indian. So another Indian girl was added to the cast. And as you can guess, the representation was that those two were just competing with each other in
Mhm.
a TV series. If two Indian girls are represented in the movie, same nationalities, they always kind of compete with each other for the
Yeah.
spot, and it's not right though.
It's
The way
heartbreaking,
it was put in the
honestly.
series, it was kind of weird because instantly when she arrived, the girl was like, "Oh, there's another Indian girl. She's going to be better than me." And
Yeah.
like you couldn't have both stay as like great characters. One had to be like better than the other because they had to compete, which was kind of weird when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it's crazy how like I see, if I look at like 90s movies today, it's crazy when you think about like this, you have like such typical kind of characters. For example, like the white girl everyone underestimated, who like comes into like, and she's in the black school and everyone's like, who's this white girl, you know. And like at the end of the movie she's like serious, she becomes she has like a lot of attitude and stuff, like in Bring It On, like these cheerleader movies and stuff. And it's like, oh my god, come on, like this is so predictable and cheap, you know. It's
Or
crazy.
like so many films where it's just like a white person, like I don't know the name of wait. I think it's like Freedom Writers, where it's like a white woman that becomes a teacher in like a school where it's mostly POC, and like people from the hood and everything. And so it's like this kind of white savior thing where it's like
Yeah.
it helps the whole school become so great and like the class becomes very good just because of the white teacher. So yeah, it's like a white teacher and she arrives. It's like an at-risk student class. They're
Yeah.
divided by race. And yeah, she just helps them become the best somehow just because she's white.
Mhm. What do you think gives you the right to talk about race and make fun of it?
Are you asking us, you mean?
Yeah,
I'm asking you.
you know, like there's such a thin line in between like being
Yeah, yeah.
racist and like having dark humor. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
just wanted
so
to
many
say
people
something.
use like the dog humor card just to hide the fact that they're racist. So I feel like, yeah, there's a
In
limit
some
to it, and
cases,
you
yeah.
can make fun. Like, no, you can't make fun, but you can make jokes that are great about like actual things that minorities live. But you always got to be careful with like if it's something that you don't live yourself. I don't think you have like the right to speak on it as if it was something that you were living. But
Mhm.
if you're white,
Yeah,
you can't talk about like black issues as if you were actually living them.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I know what
So
you
yeah, I
mean.
think you can joke and like make good jokes about like differences that everybody can have when it's just like he's blatantly racist and it's not even funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as Amrita said, there's really a really thin fine line between being racist, like clearly a racist, and trying to make
Yeah.
good jokes. In most cases that I have heard, it's not really funny, and it really depends on the person too. And when you look at the person and know that he or she have been speaking up about like different issues, have been really vocal about racial representation, about, for example, the Asian American crimes or the Black Lives Matter, and when those kind of people kind of do jokes, it's just sometimes I really get the joke, but in the most cases, when I know the personality of the person speaking to me, and I quite know that they don't care about the race and they're just doing they're making these allegedly funny jokes, they're clearly being racist. So it depends on the person and who you're talking to.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really hard issue also, like, but in the end, I really do feel like if you don't feel the struggle, if they have never felt the struggle of discrimination or like being a minority, like you shouldn't joke about it, because it can be super dangerous to talk about this kind of stuff and joke about it,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like sensible, it's like so delicate, it's super vulnerable for people to talk about it. And I feel if you just like blah, like just say whatever the you want, like like it can really harm people and communities around you. So like why would you risk all of that to have like a joke and laugh for 3 seconds? It's not
Yeah.
worth it, honestly. And I feel like you already know that it's like not okay if you're like, I don't know, people just like the adrenaline and stuff. But it was just a side question I wondered. I think it's also a really interesting aspect on racial representation and talking about it in like in stand-up comedy and stuff.
Yeah, and those the funny thing is that those racist people try to kind of laugh it off with saying, "Oh my God, you're being too sensitive. It was just a joke." What do you
Yeah.
mean I was too sensitive?
But
That's so
also
gaslighting.
the way
Honestly,
they're
that's
doing it,
really gaslighting.
you can just know that they're targeting an audience that will laugh at their jokes. Because obviously some racist people will laugh and say, "Oh, come on, this guy's funny. You just can't say anything anymore." And the comedians that are actually racist and targeting these audiences, they know it. When they're actually performing and doing these jokes, it's like because they know who they're targeting. It's like they actually know that they are being racist. They're completely aware of the fact that they're doing it. They just know that they will find someone who will laugh because there are racist people in the world. So it's like even more oh God, messed up to think that they actually want to do it this way instead of actually being respectful and funny.
Yeah, because I feel like those people are really like super ignorant, because
Yeah.
they just don't want to actually do an effort on trying to understand the issue, and they just rather laugh about it and be like gaslighting everyone, like them being too sensitive and too woke, like
Yeah,
woke
it's not doing a
culture,
thing anymore. No grammar, it's just that we've evolved. We're not racist anymore.
Yeah.
Like I hate people who say that. It's like, oh my God, in my time we could say everything. It was not so much taboo.
Yeah.
No, we just
Like
stopped being
this
racist.
generation is just so
It's so
sensitive.
annoying.
What?
Yeah, honestly, Karen, get the out. I swear. Like, if you're not trying to grow with your society, like, honestly, you can stay. Like, give me your phone, give me your smartphone, give me all your technology if you want to
Yeah,
live how
go
you
by
used to
that.
live, honestly.
Meantime,
Yeah,
people were
like cut the
going.
internet connection. Go out,
Yeah,
touch some
very.
grass. Like you don't deserve the internet cables.
No, I
No.
swear. You can go live in the woods if you want to be racist and, like, live how you used to live.
So this was the first part of the episode 2. Sorry guys for the abrupt ending. We will upload the second part next week, probably. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, whatever you want. Just, do something.